Welcome back to another edition of Take 5 with Groz with Gas on the far-flung Puckett World Radio Network.
Let me tell you how far, you don't know what a perfect setup that was, Groz. I've been meaning to bring this up. So I get we use a company called Transistor to distribute our podcast. This was how Godfather Puck wanted it to be. I'm sure he's getting to dip his beak at Transistor.
Of course he does. Just needs the rest for his daughter.
And Transistor gets all the stuff out to all the different places. And I got a note from him. We've got some achievements, Groz. My favorite one is that our podcast, which we've been doing since I think April, has now been downloaded in 10 different countries.
Real countries?
I don't know. Who knows? It meant to be boosting our egos. I was a little surprised. Started thinking. I mean, Australia's a given. We've got a lot of Canada certainly is a given.
Right.
I can imagine Mexico with all the expats that live down there in Seattle.
London, England.
Well, yeah, I guess we're worldwide. So 10 different countries. Geez, how many countries are there in the world? Like 200, aren't there, or 300? I don't know.
At least that many. Yeah.
Well,
we're getting there. We'll get them all eventually. Except for the one with the penguins on it.
And we've gotten, they also said this, boy, they really know us well. Congratulations on doing 10 weeks in a row. And I'm like, man, they really know us. Because that's worth congratulating us
20 minutes once a week. Even sickly me can pull that off.
You'd think so. Let me ask you a baseball question. Mariners have lost 8 of 11. They were 9 above 500 on May 23rd. I think they're 2 above 500 going into this week. Is this the normal ebb and flow of just about every baseball team? In other words, almost even the best team in the league is going to have a 2-week stretch where stuff just doesn't go right and you lose a few games and everybody gets nervous. Or is this more than that, in your opinion? I mean, what are we looking at with the M's?
Well, one thing you're right about is that it does happen for everyone, but not everyone gets nervous about it because other teams have got traditions of winning occasionally, like we do not have here. So I'm much more inclined to think that this is simply ebb and flow of the baseball season. I mean, you had a really nice thing happen yesterday, a positive thing with George Kirby looking really like something special. I mean, super special. I mean, he's looked great so far, but this was a giant day to get 14 strikeouts like that. And it turns out Mitch Garver doesn't have a use on the team. Yeah, which is a nice thing to find out. If he wants to pitch to George, that's good. So, that was kind of I kind of viewing this as sort of, that feels like a bookend to me of a stretch of games. We'll see what happens, going forward. But it feels like the bookend. They kind of turned it around. Kirby had the big day. I could hear him saying, Cal Raleigh sat the whole game out, didn't play the entire game, and they still won somehow, some way. So I it's more part of the ebb and flow. They didn't fall 10 games back in the division or anything like that. None of that happened. So it's June. They're right in the middle of things, and it could still be fine. It's just very hard to take these guys at their word, so to speak, because they haven't done it.
Yeah,
they don't do it. Right. These things wind up singing them. So I think it's just been a bad stretch. I really do, and they do have some things they obviously going to have problems with the rest of the year. I don't think Randy Arozarena is going to stay in this slump, but he is getting a little concerned about him. He has not hit well since he's been here, really much at all.
Yeah.
Maybe the equivalent of a couple of good months, Gasaway. I mean, that's probably about it. For a guy was clutch with Tampa, I really thought it was a great pickup for him. He had, I think he's at 140 the last 3 or 4 weeks I read today. So that's something that cannot withstand. Polanco was nice, but it feels like it's over.
Right.
It feels like he's made his contribution to the team this year.
Is there a better example of a guy who's just like the living explanation of, well, that's baseball? Has a nice run with the Twins, comes here, has the worst year ever, gets cut, has surgery, they sign him back in a desperate plea, and in April, he's basically the hottest hitter in baseball. So it's like, how can that be? And now he's fallen off the cliff again. It's such a difficult sport to stay good at.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, though, they probably wouldn't be where they are without him having the start of the season that he had. And that's got to happen over the long haul. I talk about it. You have guys that have career years. That's got to happen. Guys got to come up from nowhere. And you need other guys to periodically carry the team for periods of time. And you tend to look at that later in the season, but it's just as important early in the season. So he carried him a little bit early, which was nice. But, I mean, I don't see what his future is. And they're going to have to make some moves when the trade deadline comes up and get some hitters. And it's going to be tough. Yeah. Because everyone's going to be in it in every division, for crying out loud, the way baseball's going this year. So I think they're still in some jeopardy, until they get a better bats. But you know what, Gas, with Kirby back, if Logan Gilbert stays back, it's the dog days of summer. You get July and August, you got great pitching staff. You can win a lot of 1-0, 2-1 games. You can win a lot of them that way.
I don't say it each week, but given the amount of guys they've had go down, it's kind of remarkable they are where they're at. And, the two young guys they've brought up, that also works against Polanco, because why run Polanco out there? Run out your kids, man. And Williamson's playing great at third. He's fine. Cole still looks, a little overwhelmed, but he's had 27 at-bats. So, I'm fine with him at second. They've had so many injuries, I totally forgot about Luke Raley. I'm like, oh, yeah, Luke Raley's starting a rehab assignment. So the fact that they've, hell, they led the West for most of the way. They're certainly treading water right now and not falling behind by much and getting guys back. To me, it's easy to stay optimistic, while given the fact that historically that's a fool's errand with this team.
I think it's the pitching staff that gives me the confidence, Gas, because they're deep there too, is what they showed. So they're 7-8 major league caliber starters deep. There's no other team like that in baseball, I don't think. So they got that going for them, which is going to really be helpful. They're in it, so it's as much as I like to cause trouble, stir things up, and enjoy a good panic. I can't do it this time. I think they'll be all right.
Kirby's start yesterday was great for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was he'd had a couple of kind of lousy starts, which is okay. You're coming back, it takes you. But if you stack up 3 or 4 of those, you start to think, oh man, what is this guy still hurt? What's the problem? He looked so good yesterday, and it made you feel like, all right, they're gonna be okay, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, they got the pitching, and Houston's playing well, but they're not that good. Texas is still the team that concerns me the most because they've got the most players who are playing lousy right now. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but they have the best players playing poorly right now of any team in baseball. So I think they're going to be a team that's better the second half. I don't know what to make of the Angels. I mean, I don't know how they won 8 or 9 in a row, but they've got a few stars on them, and athletics are, not going to be a factor, it doesn't seem. So it's going to be a good race. I think it's going to be a really good race in the division, and, the Mariners fan base is going to struggle through it because they screw it up so often.
Right.
But it should be fun.
Right.
It still should be fun, and I think the pitching is the key. And the fact that we know they have depth in that pitching staff really, really makes me feel better about it.
I'm sure there's a good example that I'm overlooking, but I can't think of an NHL Finals that started better than this one has started. Back-to-back overtime games, one of them a double overtime game, was it the second one where there was the latest goal ever to tie a game in the finals or something like that?
The first one they scored 13 seconds to go or something like that.
Yeah, amazing.
And then double overtime, and then, Florida wins it. These two teams played a 7-game series last year. It's just that they've both been pointing to this all year long, and to have the first 2 games live up to the hype so completely is surprising. Yeah, because all kinds of things can happen. You've had great Celtic and Lakers series, and occasionally some of them would begin with blowout after blowout, and then they get to the games 4, 5, 6, 7, and get better and better and better. Here's one that's starting off really good. Mm-hmm. And I have no reason to think it's going to change at all. I mean, I mentioned to you that Netflix, it was a Prime thing that they did on hockey last year, and they did it, based a lot of it on the finals between these two teams last year, and you saw the emotion Connor McDavid in particular had after they lost that series, and just to watch him play in those first 2 games, I think you and Wayne Gretzky, by the way, saw the best player in hockey playing his very best at the most important time, and he looked like a couple of those plays you saw them. He looked unbelievable. Looked like a video game. It looked like a person skating, doing what he was doing in there. So, to have that superstar aspect there, to have Florida, a 2-time winner. Kachuk is a great player and a great personality. It's just stacked. It's just stacked with good stuff this finals, and it definitely has lived up to it. And then, I'll turn the tables on you now. You've had an NBA Finals begin with a shocking, fantastic win for your Indiana Pacers in Game 1.
Yeah.
And a blowout in Game 2. But not so bad. I mean, what you want is a split, and you got coming home to Indiana where it should be, to say the very least, a little exciting.
I would think it'll be revved up. I'm a little nervous because if we're being honest, they've played 96 minutes and the Pacers have led for 0.3 seconds. And Oklahoma clearly, it doesn't mean they're going to win it, clearly the better team. I mean, they've just been incredible. Halliburton had his worst game.
They have more talent.
Yeah, more talent, better way to put it. Halliburton had his worst game of the playoffs last night. That was coming eventually, and he finally had it. I just, the last few years I've thought about this a lot. Just the beauty of the 7-game series, no matter the sport. It's just, and especially now that the NBA's finally gone back to the 2-2-1-1-1 format. It's just mathematically everything. It's perfect. So now if you're Indiana, you're like, man, we got the split. If you're Oklahoma City, you're like, hey, let's just go up there. All we got to do is win 1 out of 2. There's so many cool ways you can motivate yourself in these things. I think it's going to be a long series. I mean, Oklahoma City's great. When they get going, I mean, there was just no stopping them last night. And the Pacers I thought Oklahoma City looked tentative and unsure in game 1, the whole game. They let Indiana hang around. Indiana wasn't playing very well. They were turning the ball over, and they got to cut down the turnovers. But Indiana hung around and won that game. Oklahoma City looked tentative and nervous last night for about the first 9 minutes, and then they just got going, and there was just no stopping them. And that's kind of what they did against Minnesota. They're a very good team. But hell, I'll take 1-1 and coming back to the field house and a rabid crowd. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City is really good defensively. I don't watch a whole lot, but I watch them enough to see that this is a team that actually does play defense, and it is really a part of what they do. I mean, not just playing hard. That's how they win games, for crying out loud. I don't think teams did that in the NBA anymore.
Yeah,
with defense.
I've come around a little bit on the NBA during this postseason. I think there is more defense being played than I thought. I don't like the wild 35-foot shots early in the shot clock. But whatever. I don't have to like them.
Yeah.
But I think the game is a little better than maybe I thought it was, or it's gotten a little better. And yeah, definitely. And Indiana, to me, what I love about this Pacer team the most is they remind me of the teams of my youth. They're like an old ABA team. They're just like, we're going to just outscore you. We will just flat out score. And they play D. Look, they're a tough defensive team, but that reminds me of was it Loyola Marymount, where they'd say, hey, we want the other team to shoot as fast as they can so we can get the ball back and go score.
Absolutely. And as a college team, averaged over 100 points and scored 180 in a game, for crying out loud.
Right.
Scoring is fun. It should be fun. And I'll watch some of it. I'm not watching a lot more, but it's a much different game in the playoffs, I'll say. It always has been than it is in the regular season. So it's a much more entertaining brand of basketball they're playing in the playoffs than they were in the regular season. But I still see the Adam Silver still dangling a franchise like we're just some idiot cat trying to get after it or something like that. That still bugs me. So, but there'll be some clarity on that perhaps. In the next couple of weeks.
Again, what they say, we're gonna talk about
talking.
We're gonna talk about talking.
You assholes, assholes!
Just do it, for crying out loud. I'm not. We'll see. I mean, I'm to the point now where I'm. I may be too old to go to games when they come back.
Right.
It's just been that long, but yeah, it's fun, and it'll be a fun time in my old hometown, and hopefully they can keep carrying the banner for to beat the Zombie Sonics. And, I think a chef yelling, "Get off my property, you zombie bastards!" Hey, I called our old buddy Mike Silver today. He had another engagement and couldn't join the worldwide powerhouse podcast.
You explain to him that we're on in 10 countries, including Burkina Faso?
I'm going to text him when we're done. Say, here's what you're missing, pal. But I wanted to get his take. He said he'll come on eventually. Get his take. I'll get your take on it. If you care at all. You and I are both kind of the same with summertime NFL news. But the Aaron Rodgers story is going to be intriguing because it seems to me like his best days are way behind him, but he's going to a guy in Tomlin that I know you and I both like a lot. And I don't know. What do you make of this, of him going to Pittsburgh?
Well, I think this is the interesting stuff, actually, in the offseason. This, compared to watching guys jump and skip and do all that stuff and practice, I could care less about that shit. But, this was not a well-kept secret. This is the direction Pittsburgh was going to go in. This is last possibility for Rodgers. He often reference Hard Knocks guys because I watch him a lot, but they did it with the Jets when Rodgers was there. And you really got an insight into what kind of a guy he is on a team, in a team situation, as opposed to the flaky lunatic, he appears to be with what's his name, Pat McAfee.
McAfee, yeah.
And he was in that preseason. He was every bit the guy you'd want him to be as a leader, old 40-year-old quarterback. He was helping the younger guys. He was having fun with guys. He was an asset to the staff. He never complained. He was the perfect mix for that team. He was really, really exciting, and that's why I think I felt the same way that the Jets fans felt. But second play of the season, he goes down.
Right.
That year was going to be there. The Jets were going to be good, and he was going to be the reason why. I mean, he had connected with them. So I don't know where he's at now versus where he was 2 years ago, because that could be a deflating thing for anyone. But if he comes in with that kind of attitude, and he's still got the physical skills that he has now, which is not what he had, but he's still pretty damn good. That's a good situation to be in. It's a really good situation to be in. But he's got to be that guy. He's got to be the guy that he was, and it was really. You've seen him enough, Gas, that if you watch that, you would wonder who the hell this guy is. It looks like Aaron Rodgers, but that's not Aaron Rodgers. That's not the guy I've heard about. And he was really, really good in that Jet situation. So I would say that's where I hold out hope that he could be good for the Steelers, because he was going to be good for the Jets, but we'll see. We'll see.
It feels to me, and maybe this could change today, obviously, but it feels to me like too, and I don't know who he listens to, who his top advisors are. Feels like he's dialed down some of the other stuff this offseason. You haven't heard. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing it, but and it's not that it matters. That's just more fodder for people like us to talk about his. Like it's like people say about like Deion Sanders. Craziest guy ever, but they said in the locker room, maybe the best teammate I ever had.
Right.
Worked hard, loved everybody, helped everybody.
Yep.
Rodman wasn't quite like that, but again, nobody ever questioned his abilities on the floor. So guys, you can be flaky and still be pretty damn good.
And Rodgers, I don't think he ever really was thought of as a real bad guy in the clubhouse, just a distracted guy. Right, is the right way to put it. And if he's not, Pittsburgh's got a good team. He's got DK Metcalf to throw to. I mean, he's gonna like him a lot, I think, in the early going and throughout, because he loves a big target to go after, and Metcalf's gonna love it there too. Tomlin it was sketchy end of last season. Russell Wilson did not pay off where they wanted him to. And I'm surprised the Giants were so eager to pick him up, but that's said and done. Pittsburgh's in that division is just murder gas. It still is. Yeah. Nothing has changed with the Ravens, the Bengals still in there. It's just a tremendously tough division to be in. But I don't hate the guy, and I like stories where guys come back. So I'm hoping for a good end to this one. I'd like to see him play well. I don't know if he will, and I don't think it was much of a secret that that's where he was going to go. It's really the only spot left for him.
And I got no axe to grind with Russell Wilson anymore. I've certainly gotten my pound of flesh out of that story, but I sure hope we get a couple of good back page headlines out of him being in New York. I'm really looking forward to looking at the New York papers on Mondays after games and seeing what they write, because those headline writers are incredible sometimes with what they come up with.
Well, Russell is, I'll say this, he's gone through the ringer, and he's now able to deal with it a little bit better. Remember how funny we thought it was going to be when Randy Johnson went to New York?
Yeah.
Within a day, he had argued with the cameraman, and he's like, "Oh, this is going to be a disaster. It's going to be just a disaster." And it didn't turn out to be that, but it did. It was still a little prickly. I think Russell Wilson has been humbled. Yeah. And look, the Giants are a disaster. I mean, if he does anything positive for them at all, they're going to love him. I mean, no one's played a good game of quarterback there, except for maybe one game by the last guy, the rookie they drafted 4 or 5 years ago. I took him to the playoffs one year.
Yeah,
forget his name already. Yeah. Whatever. Everyone knows who he is, but they haven't had good quarterback play there since Eli consistently. So Russell plays good for him. It'll be great. But yeah, the New York tabloids will have their way with him for sure.
Yeah, and you're right. He's kind of been through it all now, and he doesn't. And the other thing is, I think New York fans are realistic in what they'll expect. I don't think any Giants fan. I mean, they hope they're going to win a bunch of games and go to the Super Bowl, but the realistic expectation is let's get back to being competitive. So in other words, Russell doesn't have to go in there and be the savior. You just got to get him to play consistent and play well, and then see what happens.
Giant fans are the definition these days of downtrodden.
Yeah, right.
And
absolutely.
So another Triple Crown horse racing season came to an end, and Secretariat retained his title.
Yeah, he did. Although before you get to that, I want to hear how much you would have won the Belmont by yesterday if you've got that. Or Saturday. One of the best Triple Crown seasons we've had in memory to me. I mean, short of horses winning the Triple Crown, 3 great races. I mean, they were all really good.
Yeah, the second one especially was, the Preakness was spectacular. And yeah, Saratoga was great. I mean, it's a great spot for it. And, it was a shorter race, so it was a little tougher to get the comparison, because you can take Secretariat's time in the 1.5 mile Belmont,
yeah,
at 1.25 miles, but he's still got a quarter of a mile to go. So I mean, he's not going as fast as he can at that point. But anyway, Secretariat would have won the race by 8.5 lengths.
Yeah,
8.5 lengths, winning his 52nd or 53rd straight Triple Crown. No one's come close to him No one's come close to him except in a Preakness about 10 years ago. It remains to me the most amazing sporting streak, whatever you want to call it, out there. I mean, I can't think of another one where you've had a speed record So a speed record that lasted for 50 years, like this one has. And I think Gaston was the margin of difference in the 3 races, if I remember correctly, 14.5, 10, and then 8.5 yesterday. So crushing. Not just nipping them, not just beating them by the nose, but crushing them. Yeah. And then speaking of old places, so 73 was when Secretariat won the Triple Crown. I believe that was the year the U.S. Open was at Oakmont as well. And Johnny Miller, your good friend, and U.S. Open is this weekend, is taking place at Oakmont this weekend. Johnny Miller shot a 63 in the final round to win. And the USGA lost their shit. They want the Open to be the toughest course. They wanted the even par to win. And here's Johnny Miller, this blonde California kid who had not been a great player until then, but that year won like 7 tournaments. Was having a great year. Shooting a 63 on the final day led to the massacre at Wingfoot the following year. Dick Schaap wrote a great book about that, where Hale Irwin won it 7 or 8 over par. Completely overreacted to it, but so they've had Opens there since then. But that's always kind of like watching the majors, and this is going to be a really good one, because this is one of the old courses that they've made into the future. I mean, not just extending it, but just made it tough enough to last when the guys hitting at 350, 400 yards like they are nowadays. So I'm looking forward to the Open too, and that's not having to do the regular gig and not having to concentrate 100% on football. I'm watching other sports as well, like tennis. Gas, you familiar with tennis?
I am familiar with tennis. Now, I didn't watch as much of yesterday as I probably should have, but I went to a friend's house. I was in Seattle. I went to a friend's house. We went out. We went to breakfast, came back. It was still on. One of those things where it was a 5.5 hour match. Yeah,
it was a great match. And that Carlos Alcaraz is a great player and is a great kid and he's got it. He celebrated with Gas after the match. See any of this online?
No.
Ball boys, the ball girls.
Right.
He was walking up to him, and they're like, So they've got a great ambassador for the sport right now. He's 22 years old, something like that, and it was really, really good. So tennis is worth a watch every now and then too, for those of you that don't want to watch football all the time.
How do you say? Is it Coco Gauff? Is that her last name? Gauff, right?
I believe so.
Coco
yeah.
Gauff. And she won the women's side. There's a great video of her coming down the stairs. I don't know if she's going to the locker room or going to a media room, and all the ball kids are on the side of the stairs. And they're all clapping their hands and yelling, "Coco, Coco." It was neat. It was neat to see. And she's an emerging star, certainly. Emerging probably, we're a little late for that, but she's a rising star, a star on the women's side. And the sport, that sport as much as any, that and golf, you need stars. You don't have teams to gravitate to. You got to have somebody.
You got them now.
Yeah, captures your imagination.
They're in a good stretch right now in both sports.
Well, I've got. I think I've got a 2-for-1 story about animals that I think you'll like, Dave. Being an animal lover as you are.
Okay.
And
this involve a zebra, by the way.
Yeah. This was sent by concerned listener and citizen Eugene Pack, who I've known since 7th grade. Eugene is a big fan of ours.
No kidding.
And he said, "Hey, here's a story for your dumb animal part of the thing." and you are right. A runaway pet. We're going to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, but then we're going to go to Macon County, Alabama. So trust me, you're going to like
time
this.
In the Deep South.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a runaway pet zebra that was on the loose for more than a week and became an internet sensation was captured on Sunday. Ed the zebra.
What a great name.
No kidding. Captured in a subdivision of Christiana, Tennessee, near his actual home, which is also in a subdivision of Christiana, Tennessee. It's okay. Now, here's the thing that's funny, Dave. I can't emphasize enough, and I would do this, except it would be way too complex, and Mr. Puckett doesn't give us the skills for this. But just go do a search on the internet, because you're going to laugh your ass off for this. They shot him with a tranquilizer gun, wrapped him in a net with a harness, attached the harness to a helicopter and flew him home. And the harness is spinning around, so he's sitting there, and I'm thinking he's on a tranquilizer. He has no concept what a helicopter is. He has no concept what's happening to him. I mean, can you imagine the high that was for him?
I felt that way every Saturday night when I was drinking.
Right.
By the end of the night,
it
was fun. It looked funny. It looked really funny.
And they got him home safely. And so the last line of this story, Groz, kind of piqued my interest, because the last line of the story is, the pursuit of Ed came 1 month after a runaway kangaroo named Sheila shut down a large portion of an interstate highway in Alabama. And I'm like, it says click here. And I'm like, well, hell, I'm a sucker for clickbait. Let's go. So here we go. Sheriff's deputies were able to capture the wayward marsupial. And basically, it's a kangaroo. I don't know why everybody's got wild animals as pets in the South, but they do.
No kidding, man.
Kangaroo gets away, hops around the interstate. They close traffic. They again tranquilize it. They take it home. All ends well. Here's the quote from Macon County Sheriff Andre Brunson. Andre says, "When someone said there was a kangaroo hopping down the highway, I didn't believe it. But here I am looking at it. I'll tell you what, we see a little bit of everything down here." So thank you. Keep sending the stories. There you go, Groz. The kangaroos and zebras are safe.
And we are out.